Welcome to my final Lost. Season 3 episode review video, as this is the Season 3 finale, and I'll be discussing both episode 22 and 23 since they both aired on the same day. But before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you are caught up to the point where I am every once you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, everyone, I've already seen the TV show Lost 3 other times. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, top 5 for sure. But I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in my comment section for anything Dexter related, Breaking Bad, Lucifer, sometimes some physical media collection videos, is actually watching Lost for the first time. So, join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. However, I don't want to see any spoilers past this episode. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 3, Episode 22, Part 1, and Episode 23, Part 2. The title of this episode is called Through the Looking Glass, and this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. This will probably be a longer review video since I'm covering 2 episodes. We start off with some Jack non-island stuff. Jack sits on an Oceanic Airlines airplane. He indicates to the stewardess the empty cup in his hand and requests another one of these. But she refuses, telling him they will be landing in 20 minutes. Jack says that 20 minutes is a long time. She offers him a newspaper instead. He notices an article in the newspaper and rips it out. It's an obituary. He drives his car and pulls, after he's out of the plane, of course, he drives his car and pulls up on the side of the 6th Street Bridge, crying while looking at the newspaper clipping. He makes a call to someone but only gets through to a voicemail. After Jack leaves a message about having read the contents of the clipping, he steps from the vehicle. He climbs onto the ledge of the bridge, looks down at the concrete below, and then up and murmurs, "Forgive me." Just as he's leaning towards to jump, a fiery car crash occurs behind him, and then Jack eventually rushes to assist the victims. On the island, Saeed has chosen Jin and Bernard to join him as the 3 marksmen who will ambush the others. He makes Jack promise that no matter what happens on the beach, he will lead the remaining survivors to the radio tower. He tells Jack that he is willing to die, but only if the others can be rescued. Jack understands and is ready to undertake the long trek to the tower. Before leaving with the others for the radio tower, Rose reminds Bernard that he is a dentist and not Rambo, and warns him to be careful. Jin speaks with Sun, intimately telling her to stay close to Jack. Sun asks him why he is staying behind to help, and he tells her because they need to go home. Sun cries and they kiss. Juliet watches from further away. Once they are on the way, Naomi takes Jack aside and tells him that Juliet is not trusted by the other survivors. Then she shows him how to use the radio in case she doesn't make it. Charlie is interrogated by others, Bonnie and Greta. He says that he found out about the looking glass from Juliet, who has joined the survivors. Bonnie and Greta go into the radio room to call Ben. Charlie sees the blinking yellow light from Desmond's vision of the jamming equipment. After he shouts his name to Ben, Bonnie tells Ben about Juliet's betrayal, overheard by Richard Alpert and McCall. Ben orders McCall to go to the looking glass to find out why Charlie is there. He has to admit he lied about the station being inoperable. McCall wonders what else Juliet has told the Losties or survivors, and Ben tries to contact the other kidnapped team, but they are in radio silence at the moment. The others have arrived at the beach, led by Ryan Price and good old Tom, and start searching the marked tents. When they realize the tents are empty, it is too late. Saeed and Bernard shoot bundles of dynamite, setting off explosions that kill random people, Ivan, Diane, and 3 others, Isabel maybe. Jin misses his targeted dynamite but shoots and kills 2 others. However, the three remaining others capture Jin, Bernard, and Saeed. Far away, Jack's group hears only 2 of the 3 expected explosions, followed by gunfire. Back to our Jack non-island scene. Jack is being stitched up at the hospital when a pregnant Sarah arrives, his ex-wife Sarah. She wonders why she has come, or he wonders why she has come. She states that she is listed as his emergency contact. She asks him if he's drunk, which he denies. She asks him what he was doing driving around at 2 o'clock in the morning, but he deflects the question by asking her if she can give him a lift home. And Sarah says, "I don't think it would be appropriate." And then Sarah leaves. Back to the island, the group is worried about what might have gone wrong, especially Rose and son. Rose grows deeply concerned and angry at Jack. She tells him, "If you say live together and die alone to me, Jack, I'm going to punch you in your face." Love Rose. Jack urges everyone to stick to the original plan, and Jack says that their plan is going to work and says, "Let's just keep moving." Charlie tells Bonnie and Greta that no matter what they do to him, he will turn off their jamming equipment so that rescue helicopters can come. Bonnie says only she, Greta, and Ben know the code it needed to disarm the jamming equipment. Charlie is just confused by that, but suppose he won't need the code because the looking glass will soon be flooded. Bonnie asks what he will do when the station floods. He simply replies that, "I die." Tom radios Ben to tell him 7 of the assault team members are dead. Ben tells him to execute Jin to make Saeed and Bernard reveal where the other survivors have gone. Jin insists that nobody talks. When Saeed says that the others will kill them anyway, Price knocks him out. Bernard panics and reveals that Jack's group is heading for the radio tower to use Naomi's satellite phone, and that Carl warned them about the early attack. Ben realizes Alex must have told Carl and tells Tom not to kill Saeed, Jin, and Bernard yet. Ben plans to intercept Jack's group and talk them out of going through with their plan to contact Naomi's freighter. Richard Alpert asks if he can come along, but Ben orders him to take the rest of the others to the temple. As planned, Alex asks to go with Ben, who, to her surprise, agrees, saying it's a good idea, remarking that she must want to see Carl again. Kate tells Sawyer that they should go back to the beach to help Saeed, Jin, and Bernard, but Sawyer reacts negatively and looks rather distracted. She tries to provoke a reaction from him and points out how withdrawn and unresponsive he's been since the events of the last episode, or the Brig episode where he kills Anthony Cooper. But Sawyer avoids the issue, including the possibility that Kate might be pregnant. Desmond comes to in the outrigger above the looking glass station and realizes that Charlie has gone down instead of him. Suddenly, McCall begins shooting at him from the shore, so Desmond dives overboard and swims into the station. When he comes up, Bonnie and Greta are radioing Ben, and Charlie has a chance to warn him to hide. Bonnie and Greta emerge from the communications room and demand to know whom Charlie was talking to. When Charlie answers, he just says he was singing. "I'm singing." Back to our Jack non-island stuff. Jack is at the hospital at the bedside of the woman from the crash. Jack takes some oxycodone pills just before Dr. Hamill, the new chief of surgery, enters. The woman has a spinal injury and Jack wants to operate on her. Hamill says it is all under control, tells him to go home, have a drink, and rest. He asks whether Jack hasn't done enough, as he now is a hero, having rescued the woman and her son. As he leaves the hospital, the woman's 8-year-old boy waves at Jack. Sawyer announces to Jack that he's going back to the beach, telling Kate that he just didn't want to go with her. Juliet volunteers to go with him, explaining she knows where to find a bunch of guns and telling Jack it's something she has to do. On partying, as Kate watches, Juliet kisses Jack on the lips and cheerfully tells him not to wait up. As Juliet walks away, Jack checks Kate's reaction. So Kate really does like Jack, and Juliet's all about Jack. Jack is one lucky guy. Back to the looking glass, Bonnie wants to get a spear gun because Charlie won't stop singing. A distraction arrives in the form of McCall in scuba gear. Now, McCall says he thought Bonnie and Greta were on assignment in Canada. They reply that Ben ordered them to lie. McCall takes out a knife and approaches Charlie. Charlie asks him what he will think when he knows that the station is jamming transmissions. Ben contacts the station and Mikkel speak to him in private. And Ben justifies the deception about the looking glass as necessary to defend the island and ensure everyone's security. He orders Mikkel to kill Charlie and, if necessary, Bonnie and Greta as well, and to make sure that the jamming device continues to work at all costs. Mikkel asks how he can be sure Ben hasn't ordered Bonnie and Greta to kill him, and Ben answers, "If I had, you would be dead already." Jack tells Kate that Sawyer didn't mean what he said. It was just to protect her, and that he did the same thing when he told Kate not to come back to the Hydra Island. Kate asks why Jack is suddenly sticking up for Sawyer. He replies, "Because I love you." Wow. Jack's got mad game with Juliet and both Kate. Sawyer is more like his old self, bantering with Juliet. He asks, "So, are you screwing Jack yet?" Juliet replies, "No. Are you?" That's hilarious. Then Juliet admits she lied about the guns, just so Jack would let her go. When Sawyer asks why Juliet is returning to the beach, she replies, "Karma." When Juliet asks Sawyer why he's returning to the beach, he has nothing to say. Hurley chases Sawyer and Juliet, desperate to help his friends, but Sawyer dismisses him, saying that Hurley will just get in the way and get people killed. This leaves Hurley obviously upset. Alex asks why Ben let her come with. He says he's delivering Alex to her new family because she betrayed him. Alex argues that Ben mistreated Carl, which Ben excuses because he didn't want Alex to be pregnant. She asks why Ben can't just let the plane crash survivors leave the island, but Ben's only answer is, "Because I can't." John Locke awakens in the Dharma mass grave nearly a full day after being shot by Ben. He cannot move his legs, but he manages to reach a revolver and a holster of one of the corpses. He checks the revolver for bullets, cocks its hammer, and puts the barrel to his head. As John prepares to kill himself, sounds, possibly whispers, are heard in the background. Walt suddenly appears, standing over the grave. Walt tells John to get up because he has work to do. At this point, a grin appears on John's face. And that's what ends episode 22. Starting things off in episode 23, another Jack non-island scene. Jack is driving while listening to a Nirvana song with the newspaper clip in one hand. He parks and again calls on his cell phone, but the call goes to voicemail again. He crosses the street, careless of the oncoming traffic, and enters the funeral parlor. The casket is closed, and there are no mourners. The funeral director, who's played by Tim Roberts from Breaking Bad, Nigel Gibbs, who played Tim Roberts on Breaking Bad as well as Better Call Saul, steps in and informs Jack that he is the only one to come to the viewing. He then asks Jack if he is a friend of the family or the deceased. Jack replies that he is neither. When asked if he wants the casket open, Jack says no, and the director leaves. Jack lays a hand on the casket, appearing deeply saddened. He swallows the last pill and leaves, his last oxycodone pill. Back to the island, Jack catches up with Russo, who tells him they're about an hour away from the tower. Russo says she'll take them to the tower, but that she's not leaving the island because the island is her home now. They look up and are stunned to see Ben and Alex waiting for them. Jack is full of rage at Ben, but Ben greets Jack and says, "We need to talk." Back to the looking glass, Charlie is still tied up near the moon pool. Mikkel checks that Bonnie and Greta are only the ones who know the jamming code, and that the jamming mechanism will continue to function if the station is flooded. Then he shoots and kills Greta. Bonnie runs, but Mikkel shoots her in the back. Before he can finish her off, Desmond emerges from the locker and shoots Mikkel in the chest with a spear gun, and he collapses, apparently dead. Ben takes Jack aside, and Jack grabs Ben's walkie. Back to our Jack non-island scene. Jack is making a scene trying to get his prescription of oxycodone filled, but he has used up all of his refills. While arguing with the pharmacist, he is recognized by a man as a hero from the news. He denies being a hero. He tries to give the pharmacist a prescription, but he has written for himself, but she refuses to accept it. He tries to hand the pharmacist a prescription from his father. When she wants to call in to confirm the prescription, Jack says that his father is out of town right now, becomes angry and says don't bother, and storms off, knocking over a rack of sunglasses on his way out. Ben tells Jack that Naomi is one of the bad guys trying to find the island, and if she makes contact with her boat, every living person on the island will be killed. Jack refuses to surrender the satellite phone. Ben requests his walkie back because there is something Jack needs to hear. Ben radios the beach and talks to Tom so that Jack can hear that the others have captured Saeed, Bernard, and Jin. Ben tells Jack to get Naomi's phone and bring it to him. Jack asks why he shouldn't just snap Ben's neck, so Ben tells Tom that if he does not hear back from him in 1 minute, Tom is to shoot all 3 hostages. Jack is, just in doubt, but refuses to back down. When the minute is up, 3 gunshots are heard through the radio. Jack is shattered and beats Ben mercifully. Then he radios Tom to say that once he's gotten the survivors rescued, he's going to find Tom and kill him. Charlie conceives Bonnie that Ben has betrayed her loyalty and she can gain revenge by telling him the code to disable the jamming signal. She starts to tell him the code numbers, but her life is, she's dying. So she tells Charlie the code will play the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations when entered on the numeric keypad because it was programmed by a musician. She has gasped her last breath. So Bonnie is now dead. Jack marches a bloodied Ben back to the main group, orders him to be tied up. Then he strides away, followed by Kate. Russo comes and faces Alex, who stands over her beaten father. Ben lifts his head and tells Alex that this woman is your mother. And Russo tenderly touches Alex's surprised face and then says to her daughter, "Will you help me tie him up?" Jack tells Kate it was his decision that allowed Ben to kill Jin, Bernard, and Son. Kate asks why Jack brought Ben back instead of killing him. Jack says he wants to wait until after Ben has seen them all rescued. Tom is telling Price that Ben has lost it and they should have actually killed Saeed, Bernard, and Jin instead of doing what Price reminds him was an order, firing bullets into the sand. Sawyer and Juliet watch from the jungle, hesitating because they are unarmed and outnumbered. Suddenly, Hurley drives the Dharma van out of the jungle and accelerates toward the others. Tom dives out of the way, but Price stands his ground trying to shoot Hurley. Hurley runs him over and kills Price. Sawyer grabs Price's gun. Another person's distracted from Saeed, Bernard and Jin, so Saeed, using only his legs, brings him down and breaks his neck. Juliet grabs Tom's gun as he surrenders, but Sawyer shoots him anyway in the chest and says, "That's for taking the kid off the raft." Hurley says it was over and Tom had surrendered, but Sawyer responds, "I didn't believe him." Back to our Jack non-island stuff. Unable to get his fix, Jack raids his hospital supply of oxycodone. When he comes out of the medicine room, he is quite intoxicated, possibly drunk. Dr. Hamill asks him what he is doing. Jack replies that he's trying to find out how the surgery went, and Hamill says that he left voice messages for Jack, but Jack claims his phone is broken. Hamill tells him that Mrs. Arlen's back surgery went well. However, the woman remembers seeing a man about to jump off the bridge, which caused her to lose control of her car. Hamill quizzes Jack on how he got to the crash so fast. Jack begins ranting about how he has worked for the hospital, or how long he's worked for the hospital, and how Hamill doesn't know anything about him or what he has been through. Hamill asks him how much he has had to drink. Jack replies by telling Hamill to get his father down here, and if Jack is more drunk than his father is, then Dr. Hamill can fire him. When Hamill explains that he is trying to help him out, Jack yells, "You can't help me." Hurley uses Tom's walkie-talkie to announce their victory over the others' kidnapping party and warns the rest of the others they will be blown up if they attack the beach camp again. Jack hears this message on Ben's walkie-talkie and asks Hurley, confused about Bernard, Saeed, and Jin, and Hurley proudly confirms that he has saved them all to the joy of Jack's group. Claire asks about Charlie, but Hurley says he isn't back yet. Desmond fetches scuba gear while Charlie disables the jamming equipment by playing good vibrations on the control pad, and the yellow light goes off. Charlie remarks, "So much for fate," and turns to leave, but his attention is grabbed by an incoming transmission. On a video screen, he speaks to a woman whose image crystallizes and shows is Penny. She asks how Charlie got this frequency, implying that she is responding to a call rather than initiating the call. And Charlie calls Desmond, and Penny hears his name called and finds out from Charlie that he is well. Charlie talks about the freighter and Naomi, but Penny, quite confused, says she is not on a boat and asks, "Who is Naomi?" Desmond notices that Mikkel's body is missing. Mikkel appears at Charlie's porthole with a grenade in his hand. Charlie closes and locks the communications room watertight door as Desmond runs up and briefly sees Penny's face on the monitor. Mikkel smiles as he detonates the grenade. The porthole shatters and water pours into the compartment where Charlie is now confined. Desmond tries to, intervene and break the door's window. As the room fills up with water, Charlie accepts his fate and writes a message on his hand and presses it against the door's window for Desmond to read, "Not Penny's boat." As he drowns, Charlie makes the sign of a cross, and Charlie is dead. He could have swam out the porthole, though, couldn't he? I mean, maybe he wouldn't be able to because of the pressure, but I feel like he kind of gave up, like he wanted to die, but I don't know. Sad moment, that's for sure. Nobody liked that moment. Aaron starts sobbing. Naomi's phone finally shows a green light, meaning the jamming device is disabled, but it only receives Russo's old distress signal. But Russo says that it doesn't matter because they have arrived at the radio tower. Naomi tells Claire that her boyfriend Charlie just got us rescued. Russo tells Alex she recorded her message 16 years ago, 3 days before Alex's birth. Russo switches her message off. Ben, tied to a tree, begs Jack not to use the phone, saying it will be a mistake and the beginning of the end. Just as Naomi gets a connection, she falls to the ground with a knife in her back thrown by John Locke. Revolver in hand, Locke threatens to shoot Jack to prevent him from using the phone. Ben urges Locke to kill Jack, but Russo knocks Ben out. Jack stands his ground, telling Locke, "You're done keeping me on this island." Locke can't pull the trigger, but tells Jack, "You're not supposed to do this," before walking away. And then we have Minkowski answering the phone from the freighter. Jack explains who he is and mentions Naomi's name, which Minkowski recognizes. Jack asks if Minkowski can get a fix on his location, and he says, "Hell yeah, we can. Someone is being sent to the island immediately." Ben looks on helplessly as the survivors celebrate in anticipation of a rescue. Jack is overcome with relief and on the brink of tears, and Kate can't believe it either. And then we have another Jack non-island scene in his messy apartment full of dirty dishes, maps, and atlases, and empty bottles. Jack is propped up against a wall sitting on the floor. He is swigging from a bottle of tequila. He finally reaches the person he has been desperately calling. He convinces them to meet him at the airport, adding, "You know where." And then, still with our Jack non-island scene, outside the airport gate, at the end of the runway, a car pulls up behind Jack, and out steps Kate. Huh? She says she saw him on the news, and Jack explains old habits. She tells him that he looks terrible and asks why he called her. He pulls out the newspaper clipping and says he had hoped to see her at the funeral. She replies, "Why would I go to the funeral?" Jack then confesses that he has been flying a lot. Practically every Friday night, he's been using the golden pass that the Oceanic Airlines had given him. On each flight, he hopes that the plane will crash and he will be on the island again. He tells her he doesn't care about anyone else on board, that with every bump he prays that he can get back. He tells her he is sick of lying and that they made a mistake and that they weren't supposed to leave. And Kate says, yes, we were. Kate tells him that she has to go because he will be wondering where she is. She says goodbye, and as she is driving away, Jack screams, "We have to go back! Kate, we have to go back!" as the plane takes off from the airport overhead. And that's what ends Lost Season 3, Episode 22 and 23. So this is one of the better episodes, two-parters of Lost. Definitely an awesome finale with a lot of good moments. This was a good episode. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10. Everybody did really good in this episode. You had really good performances by a lot of characters. Obviously, Charlie is a standout. Charlie unjammed the signal. Rest in peace, Charlie. Obviously, there's flashbacks in Lost, so we will see Charlie again at some point. I would give him the first character of the episode because of what he did. Obviously, Jack was phenomenal, although the beard was not real. It's obviously fake. They didn't do a good job with that beard. Hurley did good with the, coming in on the Dharma van. That was awesome. We lost Tom in this episode, so rest in peace to Tom. That character was good. I don't think he was as vicious as he intended to be. So, and obviously, I was very careful what I said. I didn't say flashbacks because we are now flash forwarding on Lost. These were all things that happened after the island as Jack got off the island, which he just, reached the guy on the freighter. So we'll find out what happens with that. So, and then one of the most famous lines in Lost, "We have to go back. We have to go back." So again, 10 out of 10. Charlie, Jack, Hurley. Saeed did that cool thing with his legs to crack the guy's neck. Juliet was good in minor stuff. Sawyer was really good. Kate had her moments, but she wasn't really a focal point in the episode. But Desmond was good. Just an awesome episode. Ben with his facial expressions and his acting was really good. Russo. So you've heard everything that I have to say. It was probably a really long one. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section and interact with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man. What would you rate this episode? Who would you choose as a character of the episode? Let me hear your top 5 characters of the episode. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel to help me get to 100,000 subscribers. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.